Hello everyone and welcome back to Alternative Apex Project Pinnacle here for the fourth round of the 2026 season. If you have missed any of the previous rounds of the season so far, please do go and check them out and see what you've missed out on, because we have had some exciting races so far this season and we're hoping for another one here today on Formula One's return to the Nürburgring Nordschleife for the first time since 1976. Coming into this race, the championship standings look as follows. George Russell leads the way ahead of Lando Norris. 11-point gap between the top two. In fact, Carlos Sainz and Norris are equal second in the championship at the moment. Both of them 11 points off of George Russell. Alexander Albon, our most recent race winner, he sits fourth in the standings, just 2 points clear of Andrea Kimi Antonelli, with Lewis Hamilton just a point ahead of his teammate at Ferrari. Real shocker start to the season so far for Oscar Piastri. He's down in 9th place, level on points with Lance Stroll. And Aston Martin, not quite the performance they were hoping for this season so far, as only sit 5th in the Constructors' standings. Speaking of the Constructors, it is Mercedes that lead the way there. No surprise after Russell went back-to-back to start the season. But it's Williams now only 9 points behind them. And it's McLaren and Ferrari level on points, battling out over that 3rd position in the Constructors. Behind Aston Martin in 5th place, we've got Red Bull in 6th. What a fall from the very best that they have had in recent seasons. They now find themselves only 6th, 28 points to their name, just 11 points clear of Alpine. Alpine themselves 7 points clear of the Haas team, with Racing Bull's KTM scoring their first points of the season last time out in their home Grand Prix, with 2 teams yet to score this season being Audi and Cadillac, and one of those 2 teams has brought a surprise with them for their home Grand Prix. In fact, Audi have brought 2 surprises along for their home race this weekend. They've brought a significant upgrade package to the car as they look to try and bring themselves into those critical points-paying positions, but they've also brought a 3rd car along. Now, in this championship, you are allowed to bring 1 wildcard entry to a race across the season, so that means that each team has the right to bring a 3rd car once over the season as a whole, and Audi have chosen to bring their 3rd car here to their home Grand Prix, with the freshly upgraded car indeed being a good opportunity to get that well tested. And the driver that they are putting in that car is no other than Formula 1 legend and 4-time German world champion. That is the one, the only, Sebastian Vettel. He returns to Formula 1 here this weekend as a one-off for Audi, as he looks to try and bring that team back into the points-paying positions, very much like his idol Michael Schumacher brought Mercedes up the grid in Formula 1 when they made their return. Now, Audi isn't the only team bringing upgrades this weekend. They are the only team bringing a 3rd car, though. The other team bringing upgrades is Aston Martin, and more specifically, Honda. Honda have brought their first upgrade of the season with a power upgrade, hoping to be useful around a track with some very long straights, but also plenty of corners where Aston Martin can use their very strong aerodynamic package, of course, brought to us by Adrian Newey. Whether or not the upgrades work as intended for both Audi and Aston Martin, and if Sebastian Vettel can perform when he needs to, because he still will have to qualify into the Grand Prix like everyone else, whether that happens we'll have to wait and see. But why wait any longer? Let's go and look at how they lined up for sprint race number 1 here at the Nürburgring Nordschleife. At the rear of the field, we have a team that struggled both with their tyres and their car in 1-lap qualifying, and that is Alpine's Franco Colapinto. Their car not seemingly too comfortable around this track over 1 lap, and the same was clear for Pierre Gasly. Just ahead of those 2, we have Esteban Ocon in the Haas, looking to try and get some points on the board. Ahead of him, it is the one that lots of the home fans have come to see. Sebastian Vettel lines up 9th on the grid for sprint race number 1. If he can finish there, or even lose a spot, he will qualify for the Grand Prix. Just ahead of him is the other half of Oliver Behrman now after his strong 1-lap pace in Austria. Not quite able to repeat it here today. Ahead of him, we have the Cadillac of Sergio Perez, and then we see the Williams, the most recent winner in Formula 1, Alexander Albon there, just ahead of him. Then it is Isaac Hadjar in the Red Bull Ford with Charles Leclerc next up in front of him. The Ferrari going better here, it has to be said, than it has in other races. He lines up 4th on the grid. 3rd place on the starting grid is Oscar Piastri, starting to find some of that crucial form. But on the front row of the grid for sprint race number 1, it's George Russell 2nd. But on pole position, it is the man who really loves this place. Max Verstappen puts Red Bull on 1st in the grid. The lights are coming on and the revs are rising. We are racing and we're underway for sprint race number 1 here at the Nürburgring Nordschleife, and it's a strong start from Max Verstappen, but immediately Piastri is looking to the middle of the road. They're going to be almost free wide into turn number 1. It's a bold move from George Russell, but Verstappen's fighting back immediately in turn number 2. Russell slots back into second there, Piastri into third. Those three feeling a bit risky on the opening corners of the Grand Prix. It's Hadjar in fourth, just ahead of Charles Leclerc and Sergio Perez. Albon only in 7th position. Gasly ahead of Vettel, currently in a qualifying ins position, with Esteban Ocon ahead of his teammate Oliver Behrman there, with Franco Colapinto currently bringing up the rear of the field in this first sprint race. At the head of the field, though, it is Verstappen that leads the way, but Russell is right on his tail here and pushing him under an overcast sky. Hopefully these guys can get around this sprint race in these nice dry conditions now. As we see Alexander Albon weaving his way through some of these high-speed parts of this racetrack, getting awfully close to the back of the Cadillac of Sergio Perez through that high-speed right-hander. He's in the slipstream, but where can he make a move around here? It's always a risk trying to pull a move around this part of the racetrack. Well, 90% of the track is not good for overtaking, but when that's all you've got to make the most of it here. Albon trying to use that Mercedes power to pull alongside the Cadillac, and that's exactly what he's going to do here. And he's going to get Perez before they even get to the braking zone in the end. Good move from the tyre driver as he looks to try and, well, pull off a bit of a masterclass here in this first sprint race. He wants to have a chance at backing up his his Grand Prix victory last time out. Gasly in 8th there. He just sits ahead of Sebastian Vettel. As at the head of the field, we can see Max Verstappen leading the race, but the overcast skies are beginning to fall upon us. Rain is dropping, and these drivers are going to be tested here. It's only a little bit at the moment. You can see the flames from underneath the cars being illuminating the track, really, as Verstappen makes his way through this part of the track. It's not too bad just yet, but now look at the rain coming down. They are having to crawl around here on slick tyres in a wet weather conditions. Verstappen leads the way, and there's not too much further to go in this sprint race as they head on to the famous back straight here at the Nürburgring. And he does lead George Russell, but we know the Mercedes has more power, which usually you'd think, oh, that's going to fly past, but look at them crawling into these conditions. They are not able to go full speed, but a battle here for position number 3, Hadjar on the tail of Piastri, Leclerc in that mix as well. Then we see Albon ahead of Perez, Gasly, and then you've got Vettel and the Haas cars all in this battle pack here, all crucially fighting over places in the Grand Prix. At the moment, Albon leads it. Again, you'd say, a Williams at the head of this train, it won't be challenged on the straight, but look at this already. Perez is looking to try and make something happen as they battle for these crucial positions at the rear of the field. Perez pulling alongside, but actually it looks like it's Gasly that's going to be the one making moves here, also in a Mercedes-powered car, feeling a little bit braver than Alexander Albon as he heads down the straight. He's going to pull alongside and move up into that 6th position from all the way back to 11th on the grid. 5 places gained for Gasly. Really strong performance from him as you look just behind Perez in 8th position still. Sebastian Vettel holding on to 10th place at the moment, but he's got Ocon on his tail and the other half as well in the mix. As we look back to the head of the field, Verstappen is just about keeping control of his car. Look at them sliding their way. Verstappen really struggling for traction here. That could prove crucial. Can Russell build something of a run, I suppose, as he heads towards the start-finish line? Russell is getting closer and closer and closer. Is there enough time? No. Max Verstappen just holds on to sprint race victory number 1. That's pole position for the German Grand Prix. It's Piastri and Hadjar there, 3rd and 4th place. We look back to this pack fighting over the final positions on the grid. It's a huge slide from Pierre Gasly. He's lost to the 2 places he gained on that back straight. Albon is going to be awfully close with Perez here, and Perez is going to take that place away from him in the run to the line. Ocon's charging. He's going to get into 7th place. It's going to be 8th for Albon, 9th for Gasly, crucially just clinging on to a space in the German Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel just beats Oliver Behrman to the line, and Vettel will be competing in his home Grand Prix, and a huge sigh of relief from the Audi team. I imagine they did not think it was going to be that tricky and that treacherous in the final moments of that race, but he just, thankfully for him, makes it in. A tense finish then to our first sprint race of the day, and it's worth saying that whilst that rain did appear at the end of sprint race number 1, we are again expecting to have a dry sprint race number 2, just like we did in Austria. So potentially we could see different performances from different cars, potentially a slightly mixed up grid going in to the Grand Prix on Sunday. But looking at the results for sprint race number 1, it is Verstappen that took the pole position ahead of George Russell and Oscar Piastri. Isaac Hadjar in 4th position there, making it a very strong day for for Red Bull, and then it's Charles Leclerc in 5th position. The Ferrari not looking comfortable quite around this racetrack. Then it's Sergio Perez, who was just about the winner from that second pack of cars. He beat Esteban Ocon, who came charging up the order out of the final corner there, feeling some confidence in his car. Alexander Albon dropped down to 8th. Pierre Gasly, after being 6th briefly, he drops down all the way into 9th position, and Sebastian Vettel, bit of a scary situation for him at the end, but he does get into the Grand Prix. The 2 drivers from sprint race number 1 that failed to qualify are Oliver Behrman in 11th place and Franco Colapinto in 12th. Colapinto started dead last, perhaps expecting that, but also Gasly made a charge through the field there, but in those conditions at the end of the race, I am not surprised that some people had some issues, and we saw both Alpines in the end struggling out of the final couple of corners. Crucially though for Gasly, he had got ahead of some of his rivals, or at least enough of his rivals, so that when he struggled, he still just about made his way into the field. But sprint race 1 done, it's time to look at some potentially sunnier skies, hopefully, as we look towards the grid for sprint race number 2. At the rear of the field then, for sprint race number 2, we have someone who perhaps unsurprisingly struggled in qualifying here. Arvid Lindblad, a bit of a daunting prospect for a rookie to be taking on. He lines up at the back of the field. Just ahead of him, it is Nico Hülkenberg there in the Audi, lining up in 10th place as he hopes to join his vastly experienced teammate, but also same-age teammate Sebastian Vettel in the grid. Ahead of him, we see Liam Lawson, and then the Cadillac of Valtteri Bottas, looking to join his teammate in the Grand Prix. Ahead of him, it is Gabriel Bortoleto, one of the 3 Audis in the field, the highest starting, hopefully, for the Grand Prix, if he can convert his grid position here in sprint race number 2. Ahead of him, Carlos Sainz, a podium finisher in the last race. He lines up just behind Lewis Hamilton, the man that replaced him at Ferrari. And then in the 4th position, we have Lance Stroll. The Aston Martin is going better here than it has in previous events. That Honda upgrade looking good there, as Antonelli came home in 3rd place in 1 lap qualifying, at least 3rd place for sprint race number 2, that is. Fernando Alonso is on the front row for this race, and on pole position for the 2nd sprint race of the day, it is Lando Norris. He looks to join his old pal Max Verstappen on the front row of the grid. The lights are coming on, and the revs are rising once more. And we are racing for sprint race number 2 at the Nürburgring Nordschleife. And it's another strong start from the pole sitter, but will they be under attack once again into turn number 1 this time? It's Alonso going to the inside of Norris. Norris holding on around the outside there, and Antonelli trying to get involved in that particular fight. Alonso a little bit wide now. It's going to open the door up for Andrea Kimi. Antonelli to get his way through, and up into 2nd place for the Italian driver. Aston Martin's 3rd and 4th at the moment. Bortoleto down in 7th position for now. And you've got Bottas and Lawson currently in the final qualifying in position. He just sits ahead of his teammate there. But up at the front, it is Norris that leads the way here on lap number 1 as they head down to the bottom of the Grand Prix circuit for the first time here today. It's Norris who leads Antonelli and Alonso. Will Norris be on the front row here at the German Grand Prix, or can Antonelli do something to stop him here? Antonelli certainly looks like he's got the speed to do something here, as it has stayed dry at least for 2nd sprint race here, and Antonelli is on the tail of the McLaren, but is he going to have enough of a slipstream here? He's gaining all the way down this final straight. It's going to be a fight most likely when they get to the corner. Look at the speed difference though from Antonelli. The lower drag, higher power Mercedes there, just able to clear the McLaren and get into the lead of the race. But crucially, with the power of the slipstream here, that fight may not be over just yet now, as we see Carlos Sainz is battling away with Lewis Hamilton as they head towards the final few corners. Bortoleto currently sits in 7th position. Behind him it is Valtteri Bottas, and then you see the 2 KTM Racing Bulls. Bottas making the move on Bortoleto here. Hülkenberg is nowhere to be seen at the back of the pack there. He's clearly had some issues, as look at how close they're getting, banging wheels at incredible velocity. And you can see as Antonelli and Norris cross the start-finish line, the battle for the final positions here in this 2nd sprint race are going all the way to the line here. It is going to be wheel-to-wheel Bortoleto side by side with the Racing Bull of Liam Lawson. Lawson, the man that got 2 points for the team last time out, is wheel-to-wheel here, and it looks as though he will take the final qualifying spot here. Bortoleto beats him to the line, and it's Lindblad and Hülkenberg that will miss out on a qualifying spot from sprint race number 2. But up at the front, we missed them crossing the finish line live, but it's Antonelli ahead of Lando Norris, who come home at the front in sprint race number 2. Slightly less to talk about from the 2nd sprint race, a much quieter affair in that case, especially with the rain staying away on this occasion. But Antonelli beating Norris at the end there shows that Mercedes has got some real speed down the back straight. Behind those top two, we had Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll. The Aston Martin certainly looking better here than it has in other events so far this season. The new Honda engine seemingly doing its job. Carlos Sainz only coming home in P5, just beating out Lewis Hamilton there. Ferrari, not the qualifying they would have hoped for, at least in the sprint races. Maybe they can move forward in the Grand Prix, though. Just behind Hamilton, we had his former teammate Valtteri Bottas in the Cadillac. That little pack of cars that battled to the line there. Bottas came out on top ahead of Bortoleto, and Liam Lawson took the final place in the starting grid for the Grand Prix ahead there of his teammate Arvid Lindblad, who just missed out. And possibly for the first time this season, I think, in fact, for the first time this season, Arvid Lindblad will not be on the starting grid. Disappointment for the rookie, but it shows just how strong his season has been so far, even if he doesn't have any points to show for it just yet. Nico Hülkenberg, the other driver to miss out, and my goodness, Nico Hülkenberg, another driver that just needs a refresh in this season, it seems. Not the performance he needed. Clearly something wrong with the car. He was way off the back of the field in the end. Audi do at least get two cars into the Grand Prix, though, albeit one of them not being their full-time driver. Now it's time to turn our attention to the main event. This is the one where points are given out. It's the Grand Prix starting grid, and at the rear we have the home hero, Sebastian Vettel, in his wildcard entry for Audi. Just ahead of him, it is Liam Lawson who grabbed the final spot from sprint race number 2. He lines up in 18th position. Just ahead of him, we have Pierre Gasly, who climbed up the order in sprint race number 1, but fell back in the end, down in 17th place on the grid. The lead Audi in this race is Gabriel Bortoleto, carrying his teammate for this race, former racing number there. Of course, Vettel no longer able to use that number 5, switched to 51 for this wildcard entry. Then we see Alexander Albon in the Williams. Valtteri Bottas there in his Cadillac in 14th position on the grid. 13th went to Esteban Ocon there, with a disappointed, it has to be said, Lewis Hamilton only starting 12th for the German Grand Prix. He lines up behind Sergio Perez in the Cadillac, a Ferrari-powered car, starting ahead of a Works Ferrari there. Just ahead of him, we have the Williams of Carlos Sainz, and then ahead of Carlos Sainz, we have the lead Ferrari on the starting grid. That is Charles Leclerc, only able to start 9th place on the grid for this one. Lance Stroll in the Aston Martin, impressive for him. He lines up 8th. Just ahead of him, then we have in 7th position Isaac Hadjar with a very impressive sprint race for him. Ahead of him, it is Fernando Alonso, the Spaniard with his fresh Honda engine, lines up 6th place, with the McLaren of Oscar Piastri hoping to start his season really here in Germany. He lines up 5th on the grid, with his teammate Lando Norris just one position ahead of him for the Grand Prix. As we look at the top 3, though, as they line up, it is George Russell in 3rd place, looking for his 3rd win in 4 races. His streak came to an end last time out. Can he get it started again? Antonelli in 2nd place on the grid, on the front row for him in his Mercedes. But on pole position, the star from both one-lap qualifying and the sprint races, Max Verstappen. What a performance in tricky conditions. He puts his Red Bull on pole position. The lights are coming on and the revs rise. We are racing here, and we're underway for the German Grand Prix. And again, it's Verstappen who leads us away from pole position. Just like in the sprint race, will he come under pressure into turn number 1? He will. This time from Antonelli, though, as Norris with a big send down the inside of turn number 1. Looks like he got away with that one, though. He will lose the place back to Russell on exit. It's Verstappen that leads ahead of Antonelli, who is the lead Mercedes here today, looking to repeat his performance in Austria when he was the lead Mercedes on that occasion too. We see Verstappen making his way down the hill, knows he has to push hard in the corners. He doesn't have the engine to keep the Mercedes cars at bay on top end speed, but can he at least keep them behind in the parts of the track where the downforce is king? Charles Leclerc, 9th place, doesn't move anywhere from the start for him, just ahead of Carlos Sainz. Perez still ahead of Hamilton. Christopher looking pretty similar as they lined up there, as actually Ocon trying to gain a place off this start, not quite able to hang it around the outside of Lewis Hamilton as they come up the hill now, having to look in his mirrors at Valtteri Bottas in the Cadillac as they head up through the Schumacher race here for the first time in the Grand Prix. Behind him, Alexander Albon, the winner last time out, only in 15th at the moment. Bortoleto 16th ahead of Pierre Gasly. Albon looking to try and make some moves early in this one, though. He gets up in the 14th place there, clear of the Cadillac, and that now would be worth at least 2 points for him today. And I imagine he'll be able to try and gain some even more spots from that position. But up at the head of the field, it is Max Verstappen in his Red Bull Ford, looking to take them back to the top step of the podium since the late stages of 2025. Will he be able to take 4 their first Grand Prix victory, or maybe even just a podium, based on how things have gone so far this season, would be a good result for them. And you can see Antonelli knows in that Mercedes he's got the car to fight for wins, and he wants to join the Grand Prix Winners Club. He's Albon joined that club last time out, and he's going to make a bold move in the high-speed corners here, and he goes flying over the curb. He drifts wide. I think he hits the wall. He's in the grass. Verstappen into the back of him. Contact here, battling for the lead. Antonelli does take the lead there, but that is huge drama here. Antonelli definitely got into the Armco barrier, and I'm fairly sure Verstappen got into the back of him as well in that little kerfuffle. Russell, was he able to avoid any issues? Norris was a little bit further back. Looks like he will have got away from that one safely. Let's have a replay here on board with Antonelli. It's a very bold part of the track to be making an overtake. He's in the slipstream. He knows he has the power to clear the Red Bull forward. He goes to the left-hand side of Verstappen. That gives him the inside line. Verstappen, a little bit of a squeeze there. Now into this high-speed left-hander. He clips the inside curb. He definitely hit the wall there. He's through the grass, and you can see in his mirrors he got hit by Max Verstappen as well. Will they have gotten away with that one? I doubt it, looking at how slow they are going now. They are backing up the field at the front. Antonelli and Verstappen not on the pace here as Norris trying to take advantage there of Russell, who's just trying to sort of keep himself in the mix here. The thing is, all of these drivers in this group know that they've got a long straight coming up ahead. They don't need to take too many risks too soon, but Norris clearly not a fan of that idea. He's making the move up into third place already on George Russell, setting himself up to potentially take the leader here. If these top two do have damage as they enter the straight, we'll soon find out. They may be able to just keep their cars ahead in the corners, but when we get to that flat out section, if Verstappen's got some nose damage, he'll definitely feel some excess drag, and if Antonelli has some suspension damage, well, he won't feel especially comfortable going flat out, and certainly around a track like this would have to pit for repairs. Both of them are in a lap, especially as long as this. If something goes wrong in the next lap, if a bit falls off, it's Grand Prix over. So at least if they can try and pit and maybe repair, they can get something to happen here as Lando Norris takes it free wide for the lead of the Grand Prix ahead of the both of them. And there you can see the difference in speed on the straight. There are definitely issues here for Verstappen and Antonelli. Russell passes them as well. Alonso going to try and do the same in this battle as they head their way towards the final corner of lap number 1. It is Lando Norris who leads the German Grand Prix ahead of George Russell and Fernando Alonso in the Aston Martin. Russell through the grass into the lead now. They're going to be side by side with the braking zone, but Russell looks like he's just about going to get a hold of it. Alonso very close in this battle as well here, and surely Verstappen and Antonelli will have to come into the pit lane here. They're just about hanging with them as they come off the final corner, but with the ease that they were passed with by that straight, you have to imagine there's some serious damage on those cars. And indeed, Verstappen and Antonelli, the front row of the grid, into the pit lane here at the end of lap number 1. Huge drama there for those two drivers, and it's, well, with the move Antonelli made, the contact that was made, it's not perhaps a surprise that some damage is picked up there, as now the lead Red Bull in this race of Ice Katja is going to make the move on Lance Stroll and move up into 5th position, or is he? As you can see, Lance Stroll fighting back on the inside there in his freshly new powered Honda engine, coming out of the corner, able to drive back up into 5th position. Piastri in 4th now. He's going to try and reel in those top 3 that are now actually gapping themselves a little bit. All between them actually separating just a tad. As you can tell, perhaps finally getting all of them back up to racing speed is taking a second for them to find the rhythm again after being stuck behind Antonelli and Verstappen for, well, at least half of the lap around the Nürburgring. But saying that, Norris, he's found his rhythm quite quickly here, already on the tail of Russell and looking to the inside here, going to go for the lead of the Grand Prix. Can he get his first win as a reigning Formula 1 champion? That would be quite the statement, especially around a track such as this one. Russell, though, he has the Mercedes to try and fight back, heading up towards these tricky corners on this lap. I say tricky corners on that, they're all tricky around here, as we see Hamilton on the back of his, well, the driver he replaced at Ferrari, making the move down the main straight towards turn number 1. Leclerc been stuck in 7th place, he's gone nowhere. Hamilton slowly making some moves in this one. He goes down at the inside of Carlos Sainz, and he making a double top 8 finish for Ferrari. Not really what they would have dreamed of coming back to this venue, but at least it's something that they can say they've moved forward in this Grand Prix. Max Verstappen, someone who's certainly moving forward in this Grand Prix, not from where he started, but from where he started the second lap, that is for certain. He's battling away now with Sergio Perez, his former teammate, for that 11th position, wheel to wheel here, after having to come through the pit lane. He's replaced his front wing, I'm sure, and Verstappen now looking to be on the attack, already battling for 10th position. Now, we're going to run out of time, I imagine, to get too much further up the order, but up into 10th place. A top 10 result would, well, match his recovery driver from the Red Bull ring at the very least here. As you see, Valtteri Bottas has got Sebastian Vettel on his tail here in the German Grand Prix. Vettel, a little bit of contact there, actually, between the two of those. Vettel and Bottas, they've done battle in the past, of course, when Vettel was at Ferrari and Bottas was at Mercedes. Behind them at the back end of, well, just outside the points, we have Pierre Gasly and Andrea Kimi Antonelli there. Antonelli's car, despite coming into the pits for repairs, still not quite looking right here as they head into the carousel here on the final lap. George Russell is going to force his way into the inside of Lando Norris and push the McLaren out of the way. The top four here absolutely nose to tail as they come up through this part of the racetrack. High speed once again. Norris feeling a little bit perhaps on the back foot after that move. Now has Alonso pressuring him through this series of corners. Now this next series of corners isn't really a great overtaking zone for the drivers, but I tell you what it is the long straight here to end the lap. It's George Russell that is going to lead us onto it ahead of Lando Norris. Fernando Alonso and Oscar Piastri are all in one train of slipstream. It is Lance Stroll, Isaac Hadjar, the next group that have just lost touch with this leading quartet. Russell knows in that Mercedes they've got less drag than that McLaren. We've seen it so far this season. The Mercedes slightly quicker than the McLaren on the straights. But can Norris use that slipstream to his advantage? He's looking to try and find a way past. He's going to the inside here. Can he make something happen? Piastri's trying to do the same on Fernando Alonso. Looking to the inside there. Piastri, can he take his first podium of the season? Norris unable to pull a run there on George Russell as they head towards the final couple of corners. Norris unable to feel confident enough to make a move there. Alonso wheel to wheel with Piastri as they exit the final corner for the final time. Alonso is going to look like he's getting that podium, but at the front of the field, George Russell, it's going to be his third win in 4 races. What a start to the season for the man from Kings Lynn. It's George Russell who wins the German Grand Prix from Lando Norris, and Fernando Alonso wins the fight there for that first podium of the season. Behind them in 5th and 6th place, you can see there that is Stroll, Hadjar and Charles Leclerc battling away. Hamilton not too far behind either. Hadjar will be the lead Red Bull as he comes out of the final corner here. Hadjar finally putting a clean race together, and in fairness to him, a 6th place is certainly not a bad result for him, as now we see 9th, 10th battling it out. Carlos Sainz just ahead of Max Verstappen, and we see here we've got a battle for the outside of top 10 positions, but crucially now, with the top 15 getting points, these are points-paying positions. Sebastian Vettel on the tail of Sergio Perez. Perez in 11th spot. Sebastian Vettel and Sergio Perez both on course here to take their team's maiden points of the season and in Formula 1. It is Sergio Perez. He will take 5 points home for Cadillac. It's 4 points going to the way of Sebastian Vettel, but not just that. Both teams going to get double points here today as Bortoleto and Bottas come home in the points. Liam Lawson takes back-to-back points finishes for the KTM Racing Bulls team. He comes home in 15th place. That was a tense finish to the German Grand Prix. I hope you all enjoyed that race. That was drama from the start to finish there, with Antonelli Verstappen clashing in the early stages. Hopefully that won't affect their relationship too much. Of course, you know, those two do get on very well. But in the end, the result was one we've seen already this season. George Russell leading home Lando Norris. But we had a new person on the podium, and it's the fresh-faced Fernando Alonso in 3rd place. And finally, Piastri was close, at least, to a podium in 4th place here today. Lance Stroll made it a great day for Aston Martin, giving them a double top 5 finish. Isaac Hadjar in the 6th position there for Red Bull. That's his best finish for the senior team. Charles Leclerc in 7th position. Then Lewis Hamilton in 8th place. Double points for Ferrari, but the fact that a double top 8 finishing position for Ferrari is not something that should be even slightly a celebration for the Scuderia. It shows that they really need to step up their game, and quite frankly, I imagine they're going to start losing their drivers. Well, if it's not at the end of this season, it'll be in the future, I imagine. They're lucky they've got some good young drivers on their books that will hopefully see Ferrari as sort of this sleeping giant that can be awoken, because Charles Leclerc has been there since 2019, and, well, it's not got better, has it? Behind the two Ferraris, Carlos Sainz in 9th place does show that even if you win or get a podium in a previous Grand Prix, things can go wrong sometimes. He only gets 9th place there today. But hey, a Williams being disappointed with a 9th place is a great sign for where that team have stepped up to. Max Verstappen again having another recovery drive, and again he finishes in 10th position. Sergio Perez, first points for Cadillac in 11th place. Sebastian Vettel, the home hero, he puts on a brilliant show. He comes home in 12th position, made some moves in that race, got up the order, and was actually the top Audi in this race. Then, behind him, it was his teammate, Gabriel Bortoleto, making it double points for the Audi team at their home Grand Prix. Good showing for them. Valtteri Bottas in 14th place makes it double points for Cadillac, so the two teams that hadn't scored yet this season both getting double points here today, with a bit of drama from the front runners. That certainly helped, I'm sure, but nonetheless, good performances from both of those teams to upgrade their cars. Liam Lawson makes it back-to-back points finishes for the Racing Bulls KTM team, and that's a good sign for them that there is some performance in that car, albeit needing some drama to befall the others. Missing out on points in that race, Antonelli, of course, with his problems with the mistake he made passing Verstappen, damaging his car, not able to bring himself back into the top 15. Behind him, Pierre Gasly in the Alpine, another driver that had some issues in that race. Alexander Albon and Esteban Ocon also having problems in that Grand Prix with the reliability of their cars. So, not the cleanest of races for all involved, but still certainly an entertaining one for us to watch at home. Now we'll have a look at the championship standings after that race. In the drivers, Russell leads the way by 16 points after his third win in 4 races. Perhaps surprisingly small margin considering his success this season, but that one race in Austria really hurt him a lot. But in fairness, Norris had an issue there as well. Behind those two, Carlos Sainz is sitting third place at the moment, ahead of both Ferrari drivers, 4th and 5th. Perhaps surprisingly high in the championship considering that they just haven't had race-winning pace at all this season so far. Behind them, you have got the second Williams of Alexander Albon, of course, failing to score today, as was Antonelli. Piastri, Alonso, with their top 4 finishes, jump up a little bit in terms of points. Stroll, though, only a point behind his vastly experienced teammate. Max Verstappen, outside the top 10 of the Drivers' Championship. It wasn't that long ago we were talking about how many days Verstappen had led the Drivers' Championship for before Norris took it away from him. So it is incredible to see him down in only 11th place. But it doesn't seem like it's him, and I think most people would agree it's not him, because his teammate sits right behind him, just 12 points back from him. And 12th position in the championship with Red Bull, usually you would say, hey, that's another driver that's going to be fired, going to be replaced. But based on the season they've had so far, Hadjar's probably been doing better than the previous drivers have, I think it's fair to say. We'll see if Red Bull start to find some upgrades. Of course, Verstappen did start on pole today. Hadjar was a bit behind him, but still, you have to say that Red Bull has not been a car worthy, really, of much better than it's got so far this season. Pierre Gasly's been doing well in that Alpine, but only a point, actually, more than Colapinto so far. Alpine, you'd think, might finally settle on a driver lineup here with both of them scoring points so far this season in a car that doesn't look to be very quick, but it's Flavio Briatore at the helm. Anything could happen. For all we know, they could announce Charles Leclerc moving to Alpine tomorrow. And whilst we'd be surprised on Charles Leclerc's part, we wouldn't be surprised on the fact that Flavio Briatore had managed to get a top driver like that in to a team even when it wasn't at its best. Oliver Behrman at the moment sitting behind the two Alpines on 6 points to his name. He is the favourite in the event for either Ferrari driver to step aside to be taking a seat at the Scuderia. But at the moment, I mean, it's less about Ferrari getting rid of either of their drivers, more of one of their drivers losing hope with Ferrari, quite frankly. Hamilton at the moment sitting not too badly in the championship, both him and Leclerc equal on points, doing well, doing what you'd expect them to do as two top drivers, but the car isn't a top car. So Ferrari, I don't imagine, will be sacking either of their drivers, certainly not. But if either of their drivers decides, you know what, this isn't going to work out, if Hamilton goes, you know what, I'm going to retire, or if Leclerc decides, hey, I had enough of this, I'm going to jump ship to another team, then maybe that could be an outcome that we see as a possibility in which Behrman could get promoted. But for now, at least, Ferrari won't be in a rush to put a young driver in a team which at the moment just doesn't quite look like they have it all. Outside the top 15 of the championship standings, we've got the likes of Sergio Perez and Sebastian Vettel, Gabriel Bortoleto and Valtteri Bottas, all drivers who scored points in that race today, as well as Liam Lawson there in the mix with back-to-back points finishes for him. In the constructors' standings, it is Mercedes that lead the way ahead of McLaren now jumping up into second place. Williams, disappointing day for them. They drop back to third, only 11 points clear of Ferrari. Aston Martin take a big haul of points today. They are now sitting a bit closer to their rivals ahead of them. Red Bull behind them, only 44 points to their name. But thankfully for Red Bull at least, the teams behind them are having an even worse time, quite frankly. Alpine just 17 points, Haas just 10, Audi and Cadillac both now on 7 points, and Racing Bulls KTM just 3 points to their name so far this season. Only 2 full-time drivers this season so far haven't scored, those being Arvid Lindblad and Nico Hülkenberg. Will that change in the near future? We'll have to wait and see. Next time out, we will be having the Belgian Grand Prix, so I do hope you'll all join us for that one. We will have another wildcard entry, this time from one of our big teams, so make sure to tune in to see how that one goes. But for now, thank you very much for watching. Until next time, goodbye.